ചെന്ന് കിളയ്ക്ക്.
Hello, welcome back to the show. My name is Amit and I'm going to talk to you guys about Varshangalkku Shesham. This movie came out recently on OTT and I've been wanting to review it, wanting to give my thoughts about it for some time now. I watched it over the weekend when it finally hit OTT. Now, it came to theatres. It did come to theatres here in Melbourne, but I think it was in very selected locations and only for a short amount of time. And it came out on the 11th of April, I think around the same time as Avesham. So I ended up watching Avesham. It was kind of head-to-head clash between these two movies, but in terms of this movie's success, it was very successful in the box office. I think just I look at this website here to sort of see how the statistics were, how much money the movie made, and yeah, as you can see, it made 80 crore off a 40 crore budget. Honestly, it's surprising that the budget was only 40 crore given how much they spent on one, I guess the ensemble cast, but also just the production of this movie it seemed like it was quite a bit because they put quite a bit of money into it, it feels like. But I guess coming into this movie, guys, I came in with not too many expectations, even though I've heard a few things that came out, after the cinema release, and I heard some reviews and people that I talked to had given me some of their feedback regarding what they thought about the movie. I still went in pretty much blind. Like I didn't really think too much about this movie in terms of what the general consensus was. I heard some people enjoyed it, some people didn't enjoy it. So it's kind of in the middle somewhere. But from what I saw from the marketing material, look, I was pretty excited for this movie, to be honest. The trailers, the teasers, the songs, everything looked really good. Obviously, it's a Vineeth Sreenivasan movie, so that gets me pretty excited because I've seen some of his movies, and the last one that I think I saw him direct and actually act in was Mukundun Uni Associates, which was just something else altogether. But, I didn't expect the same thing here because it's a completely different theme. But my expectations were pretty high just because it's a Vineeth Sreenivasan movie. Alongside that, we had a Nivin Pauly cameo. We had Dhyan Sreenivasan, who I've not really seen much of, to be honest. The first time I was seeing him. And same with Pranav Mohanlal. I've not seen much of him either. So it was cool to see, I guess, some new faces for myself. And also just the theme about this movie just looks so, I don't know, so different, so refreshing in some ways too. Because, I love movies that talk about movies. And this is a movie about making movies. So I had pretty high expectations coming in. I was hoping for something great. And overall, look, I'll tell you, I enjoyed this movie. I was not disappointed by this movie. But I'm going to break it all down like I normally do, guys. So, stay tuned. I'm going to do what I do and break it up into chapters. So yeah, let me get started. Storyline and plot. This movie, guys, I can tell you one thing. Firstly, this is a spoilers review. You're going to get all the spoilers here. I'm not going to hold anything back here. But in terms of the storyline and plot for this movie, guys, this movie packs in a lot. I feel this movie tries to do a lot. Like, it tackles so many themes within the movie itself, along with its really complicated, I wouldn't say complicated, but really, I guess, expansive storyline. It goes through a lot, we go from the journey, and if I was just to read you a quick synopsis about the movie, basically 2 young men leave their hometown to chase their dream of becoming big in the world of the 1970s and 80s South Indian cinema. That just scratches the surface. It really does, because this movie it just packs in so much, as I said. Just to, round it off just from the top of my head, guys, it talks about friendship, it talks about romance, it talks about basically creating your legacy. It talks about breaking into the industry, what it is to be a Malayalam, I guess, filmmaker in a world where Malayalam cinema didn't really exist at the time. So, they moved to Madras, obviously being outsiders to the industry, trying to break it into the industry and then create their own industry as well. It talks about corruption within the industry. It talks about, again, seizing your opportunity, like, that sort of an internal struggle that one of the characters has in Pranav Mohanlal's character. So it goes through a lot, and all that it also talks about in the second half of the movie, actually the complexities of making a movie. Who's involved, from the producers to the people that do the direction, to the people that do the score. It packs in so much. And, there's a reason why this movie is so long. Like, the movie is a long one. It's 2 hours and 47 minutes. But in saying that, guys, one of the criticisms I have of this movie feels every bit of 2 hours and 47 minutes. It really takes its time. It really takes its time. And at times, I feel like it's almost unnecessary. And that's probably because of the fact that they were just trying to pack in a lot. My favorite parts, to be honest, in terms of storyline and what they were doing in this movie, I did really enjoy the sort of bond that the two characters had. We have Murali, basically, who's Pranav Mohanlal's character, who's basically, I guess, like I would say the more artistic of the two, the more traditional artistic of the two characters. A musician, a very talented musician, a struggling musician at times, who's really trying to find his place and what it means to be an artist in, this time. He's not really someone that's lured by the fame and fortune. He's more lured by the art, it seems like. But he's got his own demons and his own struggles that he has to overcome, along with Venu, who is the writer and eventually the director who becomes. And I did enjoy the on-screen chemistry. I'm not sure what the response was from the general audiences, so I'd love to know from you guys in the comment section, what do you guys think of the performances here? And I'll get onto that a little bit. But for me personally, these two characters, I felt I really enjoyed watching their journey go through, despite the fact I wasn't 100% sure what got them together in the first place. Despite of that, I still enjoyed sort of seeing them follow their journey and the ups and downs it goes through. That was really sort of entertaining for me. I really enjoyed watching that part of it. The other part that I think really stuck with me, and I think this might just be me because I am sort of outside of this YouTube thing, guys. I do other things which are also in the creative field, but as sort of a creative, yeah, I could see the struggles that Murali was going through. Like, it's something it's still talked about in today's age. It's not as common as it was back in the 70s and 80s, but essentially, if you're an artist, you're somebody that's generally, there's a sort of perception that you're vulnerable, like that you're an artist, you might paint for a career or you might make music for a career, but you won't make the most money in the world, and you're dedicated more to the art, the prestige, the legacy of sort of doing what you have to do to preserve that, that beautiful art form. There was one scene in particular, I think it was about just a little bit after the hour mark, where I think Murali realizes that he's given this song away that he wrote to the other character whose name I can't find here, but the other character who basically was a corrupt musician who takes his song and then makes a lot of money off it and becomes famous. Now he goes to him and he almost pleads with him, he begs with him to take his song back, but it's no go. It's not going to happen. So I thought that was a very touching part, and it's very hard to sort of see some of that because it's very real. Like, if you guys follow anything with sort of the gaming industry right now, like, and how vulnerable they are people that get taken advantage of all the time in sort of game development, and even VFX artists in sort of Hollywood right now. If you hear about any of them, they really go through a hard time because they're just slammed with, unrealistic timelines, and they have to compromise on the integrity of their work just to make, the timeline. And that's this movie does a good job of exploring that theme. Now, it's, as I said before, it's only one of the themes it explores. So again, that's sort of maybe one of the, I guess, shortcomings of this movie is it tries to do a lot, and I applaud this movie a lot for trying to do that, because it does try to explore a lot. Even when Nivin Pauly's character comes in later, it talks about sort of the struggling artist once again through a different avenue. So there's so much to talk about this movie in terms of what it's trying to achieve, but overall for me, I did enjoy the storyline and plot, although I have to admit it did feel like it was a bit hard to get through at times. 2 hours and 43 minutes. I think if they had sort of maybe cut down on some of the, I guess, themes that they were trying to address here, perhaps we could have got through this movie a little bit faster. Characters and performances. So this movie has a lot of actors. This movie is, it's definitely an ensemble cast. Although when I say that Pranav Mohanlal and Dhyan Sreenivasan are the two characters that really shoulder most of the load here. I'd say everyone else in this movie plays a cameo role. We have Basil Joseph there for a little bit, playing, he really comes along in the second half, and he's really more a support character for the older version of, Dhyan and Pranav Mohanlal, Murali and Venu's characters. Like, he doesn't exist before them, but he has a nice part to play as well. I enjoyed his performance, definitely. Basil Joseph is just a great actor. I think he's a very good actor, and I think it's impressive to see someone that's primarily a director be such a good actor and just, always entertaining to watch. So he was a great cameo. We had Kalyani Priyadarshan with a very small cameo where she starts off in the movie and she kind of disappears for a long time. until she comes back again. Like, not much of a role for her, to be honest, but look, with whatever she was given, I thought she was fine. I don't have any complaints with her. Vineeth Sreenivasan was there as a taxi driver. Essentially, he didn't really have too much of a character in this movie, just more, honestly, to just help with some exposition and some backstory was basically his role with Venu's character as they're sort of exploring the sort of back and forth. That's another thing I liked about this movie. It did play with timeline pretty well. But Vineeth Sreenivasan's character was basically there to just, I can't remember him having too much of an impact. The character that did have an impact, though, was definitely Nivin Pauly. And I think his performance in the last act, the last third of the movie, I think was really, it was almost needed, to be honest, because there needed to be some kind of spark in this movie. And he provided that because some of his scenes that he had were pretty funny. He has a whole thing about nepotism. It really plays into this movie. Really fits into this world because they have so many references to, I think, Mammootty's reference, Mohanlal is referenced, Billy Spotan is referenced, that Basil Joseph is working alongside him in a movie. So it's quite contemporary. It does take us from the 70s and 80s when it starts all the way till today's age and sort of seeing that through. But in terms of like Nivin Pauly's performance, yeah, he was really good. I thought he had a very, very fun character to play. He had a lot of fun with this role. Obviously, I think if you were to compare the different performances, I think it's a bit harsh because his character was the most extravagant. So he's given the most to work with and he has the funnest role when I compare Murali and Venu with Pranav, Mohanlal and Dhyan, Sreenivasan. It's completely different. They are there for, carrying the story through. So it's a very different role. But in saying that, I enjoyed all the on-screen chemistry. I didn't have too many issues with any of the performances. For what they were given, I thought they were all really good. Pranav Mohanlal, first time I'm seeing him. Now, I've not seen too much of him, and obviously he's got the Mohanlal surname, so he's Mohanlal's son. That's very big shoes to fill. In saying though that, I was pretty impressed with Pranav Mohanlal's performance in this. And I would say, especially in some scenes, in the first half, I was more impressed than the second half. The first half was where I think he really got to shine because there was that one scene I talked about again where he's sort of playing this artist who's disheveled, who's struggling with his identity and what he really wants to do. What is his legacy? What does he value intrinsically? And how is he going to make it up in this world? We have a lot of struggles with that. And I think he does a really good job in the first half, especially the first half. Some of the emotions that he's able to convey, especially the scenes I'm talking about when he's sort of begging for the song, that was really good. He has a very intense dialogue with Dhyan, Sreenivasan's character, Venu, on the phone where he's basically losing it at him because he's sold out, essentially. That's another thing this movie talks about, like selling yourself to the, devil, which is what Venu's character has gone through. He started off as someone that was really, doing great things, had a blockbuster hit, creating something artistic, and then he had a series of flop movies because he just gave into the machine. Another thing that this movie talks about, but I did enjoy Pranav Mohanlal's performance in this, to be honest. I have heard from a good friend of mine, Bibin, who's a friend of the show, basically. I talked to him a little bit about this movie too, and he did say there are a few things with the way Pranav Mohanlal delivers, like Malayalam, that can be a little bit off-putting. Because it's not as natural as what some would expect. Now, that honestly doesn't come across to me so much because I can, at this point, after watching quite a few Malayalam movies, I can detect like accents and dialects, but I didn't pick up anything in this sense. So I don't have any criticism in that. But otherwise, yeah, performances were just fantastic. I can't fault anybody for what they did in this movie. Cinematography, music, and costume design. So the production value for this movie is very high. I really enjoyed the production value for this movie. I thought it was fantastic, to be honest. This movie looks really good. The first half is just sensational with what they've done with sort of the set pieces. They've created this village. Now, I forget the name of where they are, but basically we have Murali and Venu. They leave from the town they are in Kerala to Madras, Chennai. And they go to a place, in the 70s, which is basically known for cinema, which is basically maybe the birthplace of South Indian cinema is what I'm expecting. They go there and the way they've created this atmosphere is just fantastic. Like the set pieces are really good. The costume design in the first half I thought was fantastic to create that scene. The music in this movie, man, is really good. I'm talking about the music, not just the soundtrack but also the score. The soundtrack is fantastic. To start there, essentially we have a few songs. It's a very musical movie, so I think there's a couple songs that are played throughout the movie and they're all beautiful. There's this one song which is basically, I think, a point of contention. The song is called Memories. I'm not sure what the Malayalam word is, but the translation is Memories. And that song is just beautiful. Like it plays throughout the movie, and oh my god, it's I can definitely tell why Murali's upset, because he was robbed of this masterpiece. But then again, he's able to make masterpieces just at the drop of the hat, as you know how talented he is. So yeah, I mean, production wise, fantastic. Music wise, fantastic. It really gave you this atmosphere. The first half was just really good in that aspect, I feel. The costume design as well in the first half, I thought was great. Took you back in time, really well. Now the second half, I have to say, I have to give a little bit of criticism to some of the costume design, because it was a little hard for me to believe that, like, especially Pranav, Mohanlal and Kalyani, those two characters especially, they did not look old at all. I think they tried to make them look older because it's meant to tell us, the time period. Dhyan Sreenivasan wasn't too bad. I thought he played the older man pretty well. But in terms of Pranav Mohanlal's character, no, it kind of to me looked like just they put a wig on him and they just let him run with it. And yeah, like the skin was not, the makeup wasn't 100% for my liking. Maybe it's me, I didn't notice this as well, or maybe I'm not seeing it right, but it wasn't that convincing to me in terms of what they did with sort of making the two characters look older. It didn't take away too much from the movie, to be honest, but it's just something I noticed, and I think that's the only part that I have criticism for in terms of the production design of this movie. Otherwise, it was just, it was really good. I don't have any complaints otherwise. Overall thoughts. So overall, guys, thanks for listening to this review. I really enjoyed talking to you guys about this movie. There's a lot I had to say, and I hope I feel like I just covered off a little bit of this movie, because this is a movie that's trying to tell a lot. Now, overall, I did enjoy this movie. I know there are parts of this movie that I might not be able to understand in terms of the references or what they're trying to do, because I know Vineeth Sreenivasan as a director and as someone who's had, a legacy in this industry. It's funny because they also talked about nepotism in this movie as well, while casting a couple, nepotism actors in it. I thought that was pretty funny, despite Nivin, Pauly and Basil Joseph, I guess, are the two that aren't there. But in terms of like what this movie is trying to achieve, I can sort of see what Vineeth Sreenivasan, the director, is trying to do. Is meant to be a tribute and a homage to cinema. And he's done a pretty good job of that. Like because it's such a broad topic, he's tried to capture so much and put it into this movie, which I feel can be overwhelming. And honestly, I think this movie might be better on a second watch, to be honest, because then you can actually just appreciate and absorb some of the information that they're telling you, rather than trying to keep up with it. Overall, look, guys, I did enjoy this movie. It was a bit longer than I needed it to be, but I can understand what they were trying to do, like I said. It really does a great job of portraying some of the hardships of sort of becoming a director, living your life in cinema, and what the struggles are, the ins and outs of that, and basically the ebbs and flows, and the relationships you form, the relationships that break, the relationships that you hold close to you. It plays into all of that. I think it does a great job of doing a lot of that. But at the same time, I do feel the storyline and the structure and the plot and the pacing struggled a little bit, just due to how much they were trying to do. So basically, that's my takeaway, guys. I enjoyed this movie, but I do think there is some space for criticism. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section. Just leave a comment in the comment section and I'll make sure to get back to you guys. But thanks for listening to me. If you have all the way through, if you like this kind of content, guys, why not subscribe to our channel? We do a lot of Malayalam movies. We do Malayalam only content here. Thanks a lot for listening, and I'll chat to you guys on the next one.